Hello, we're here to quickly demo, how we can use JupyterHub Fancy Profiles to be able to specify a Git repository with content for your project and a separate Git repository with the environment for your project. Now, this is using Fancy Profiles, but it's not Fancy Profiles is not fully done, but hopefully by doing this manually, you can see where the planned work to add this to Fancy Profiles would be and how that would satisfy this need. Now to speak about, why have different content and environments, like if you look at mybinder.org, content and environment are basically the same, right? Like you put in a URL and basically what you get is, like an image is built out of that, so the environment with repo Docker and the content is put in there. And this sort of works okay-ish because, it's like ephemeral, you launch it and then you're gone. But like if when you are actively working on something like that, right, it is a little bit more complicated. Like what happens if you've made some change in your home directory with your persistent storage and then someone makes an upstream change to that Git repository, right? Like it's not really clear how that should be dealt with. So there is a separate project that is built to deal with that, which is nbgit puller, right? It uses Git to deal with it, and it knows how to like safely merge things so users don't lose their content and whatnot. So I think for like a really good experience, we can use BinderHub and repo Docker to build the environment, and nbgit puller to really pull in the content. So just to show how that's going to be done, like again, there's some manual steps here, and as I do them, you'll see how they'll be automated in the future. But I'm going to pick up this repository, which is from a particular course at UC Berkeley, that has all of this content, right? Like this is just various notebooks, associated like images and whatnot. And I've made a little environment for this, which is like a binder compatible repository that has requirements.txt. So I'm gonna go to the link generator. I have an image here, so I have a hub here with Fancy Profiles deployed, and it's a slightly older version of Fancy Profiles, so it looks a little bit different, but fundamentally for this use case, nothing else is really different. So here the Git repository URL is for the content, so I'm going to put in the URL of the content here, and then I'm going to say I wanted to open in JupyterLab, right? So now I'm just going to copy it, and note that there's no reference to the environment here. I'm just going to copy it and then paste that. So this would be the same as the user clicking a link, right? And now we have Fancy Profiles, and I'm going to have to manually. So this is the part that would eventually be automated, that this would be part of the link specification. I'd say, select it and say build your own image. And then I'm just going to, copy paste this, right? And be like UEPanda edit environment, and I'll hit build image. And again, this build image and all of that would be automated. And then, when this is done, I'm going to hit, and I can of course select resource allocations. Eventually this will be like also part of the link specification, not quite yet. And then, like my server will start, and this is like a persistent, directory that I will have access to, because this is a standard JupyterHub. And now you can see nbgit puller, it's doing its thing, right? This is, so the previous one was a server starting, and now we're really doing a git pull. And this also means that if you look at the nbgit puller docs, you will see its merging behavior. So if I've already made changes here, it's just going to like pull it and not lose my changes. But on the left side, you see it's opened up here, and I can go in and look at these homeworks or whatever as I need, but you'll see that this is actually in my persistent home directory, right? Like you can see that I have, pulled up other things before, like I have like files here and like other directories that exist. So this is part of my persistent storage, and you can see here, like, multiple things can be pulled in as needed. And right now, the environment I'm in is set up for data 8, but of course, I can stop my server or have multiple servers running, and then they have different environments. And right now I have to type it in manually each time, but of course, there are multiple improvements to be had there, right? Like you can make sure that like you can encode that in a link, but also importantly, I think, if I go back to just looking at Fancy Profiles, or I can just copy paste this link again so you can see that. What I ideally love is, when people go here, right, like I want basically this, like I just want additions here, right? Like I want them to be able to say like, oh yeah, you did this before, so I can just like select from this drop down and it would have all of that memorized for me. So this is sort of like the ongoing future work that would allow bringing this to all Jupyter hubs, right? Like and Binder Hub service can be like an add-on that exists on the side for the image building / report locker parts, and then NBK puller can be the one that's used to distribute content. So that's what I wanted to share.